Hey guys, welcome to Pyro 101, which is a new series of videos where I will educate myself and every one of you everything about Pyro. Let's start with this very first video, which is about the very basics of Pyro. How to navigate the whole Pyro system. Which spawn locations should you choose? And what are the most important aspects that you need to consider when navigating Pyro? Pyro is a one-star system with 6 planets, and Pyro is huge. Now, let's take an overview of the entire Pyro system. Let's start with the Pyro Sun. So if you double-click the Pyro Sun, you can see the entire scope of the Pyro system. Around the Pyro Sun, you can see 5 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And each circle indicates there is a planet orbiting around the Pyro Sun. But Pyro has 6 planets. How come we only have 5 orbital lines? Let's start with the first orbital line, which is Pyro 1. So when you zoom out, you can see the solid white circle. These white circle indicates a planet. And the hollow white circles, like these indicates a L points. It doesn't mean an L station, because some of these doesn't have a station. It means a L point which you can jump to. If you click this, you can see it says a Lagrangian gravity well located in the orbit of Pyro 1. And because you can jump directly to these L points, they can be served as a very good navigational points, which you can triangulate yourself to locations where you cannot directly jump to. So still, the first orbital line, when you zoom in, you can see the solid circle which indicates the planet disappeared. And then you will have a holographic image of the planet. And sometimes it's quite hard to see. As long as you know that Pyro 1 is in the first orbital line, you can always find it easily. Around Pyro 1, you have the Pyro 1L1 right here and Pyro 1L2. If you double click it, you can see these are just a gravity well. There's nothing in there. However, let's look around. So this is a Pyro 1, L1, L2, and where's L3? L3 is right here, right across the star on the other side of the orbital line. So this is a Pyro L3, and around Pyro L3, you can see these squares. But when you zoom in, it shows up like these kind of symbols, which means a point you can jump to. For example, Rep Alpha. You see these two? Rep Alpha, Rep Tau, and this one is a Kiro cluster. A Kiro cluster is a very special cluster. Read this: a shard cluster of black-ended asteroids. While mostly worthless, some rare materials can be found here. I have spent an hour looking for this cluster. I have triangulated myself there, but there is currently nothing there. Alright, we are here. Ooh, I don't see any clusters above us. It's so hard to find. This is empty space. Oh, I am moving to the cluster. Yeah, I am inside the cluster, but the cluster does not exist right now. And I hope when 4.0 comes to life, we will have the real cluster there, which you can see rare materials can be found. It's definitely a mining spot. So for demonstrating this, now I have arrived at the Pyro 1L3. And there's nothing here. It's like a gravity well with the nebulas. But around Pyro 1L3, we do have 3 other locations that we can go to. One is the RAB Tau, and the other is RAB Alpha. When it says RAB, it means an asteroid base. Some of them are abandoned, like this one. You can see the description. This remote asteroid base is no longer in active operation. Caution is advised. And this one as well. So let's go to the RAB Alpha. Beautiful. So this is a nebula with a lot of rocks. And you can see those lights right in front of my ship. That's the stations. And you can EVA inside those stations. Wow, this rocks looks absolutely amazing. Beautiful. See these? There's one station right here. Oh. Slow down, slow down. There we go. So the station is right in front of us.
Shields hit.
Oh, getting hit by the station turrets. The station turrets here are active. brought down my shield! Run, run, run! So this is just a demonstration for the RAB stations. When you see an RAB, it means an asteroid base. And most likely is an abandoned asteroid base, no longer in operation. Caution is advised because, well, like this one, the turrets are active. Alright, now let's move to the second orbital line, which is Pyro 2, which is called Monarchs. And Monarchs is right underneath me. Beautiful planet. And Monarchs has a lot of POI that you can explore. Around Monarchs, there is no space stations, but we do have those L points that you can jump to. L1, L2, L3 on the other side. We have L4 right here and L5. One of the most important Pyro 2 L points is the L4. Double click it, you can see we have one home location, which is called the Checkmate. This is one of the 3 home locations that is currently for this patch. And Checkmate stations is one of the best spawn locations. The reason being is only Checkmate stations among these 3 locations, you have a X large hangar. But the Checkmate station is a standalone single station. It's not around any planet. Monarchs Pyro 2 is right here, and it's still quite a distance away from Monarchs, so it's a standalone station. And Checkmate station is controlled by the rough and ready game in Pyro. And that's the distance between Monarchs Pyro 2 to the Checkmate station with a size 3 quantum drive. It will take a minute and a half traveling from Checkmate to Monarchs. And the distance is 9 gigameters. Now, from Monarchs Pyro 2 traveling to Pyro 1, it's 15.34 gigameters. It will take the Carrack 2 minutes to arrive. Now, let's go to the third orbit, which is Pyro 3. It's called Bloom. And this is one of the most beautiful planets in Pyro. And the atmosphere is breathable. From Pyro 2 jump to Pyro 3, it takes 2 minutes and 40 seconds with the Carrack. The distance is 27.51 gigameters. Let's start the jump. Now, if you double click Bloom, you can see we have a lot of POIs on this planet. And also, we have a second home location, which is called Arbitrary. And the Arbitrary, different from the Checkmate station, is that the Arbitrary is a space station around Pyro 3. And this station is also controlled by rough and ready game in Pyro. And now we just arrived at Pyro 3 Bloom. Look at this beautiful planet underneath the ship. Beautiful. So among Pyro 3 orbit, you have a lot of jump points. You have a cluster BGR 560. So when you see it says cluster like this, these are called minor clusters. There we go. We have arrived at this minor cluster. It's a little nebula here with a lot of rocks, and you have all these graphic glitches. You see these unknowns? Those are definitely minables. Okay, ping it. Oh, I passed it. There we go. It says asteroid Q type. Does it give me anything? Yeah, something's not right. I should be able to scan and find the information about this rock, but I don't see anything on my scanning MFD. But you can find minables here. So we have Pyro 3 L1, Pyro 3 L2. Around Pyro 3 L2, we have a Rab Whiskey. And then here we have these called PYAM Supervise 3-4. These are the abandoned stations. So remember the RAB station, the RAB station we looked at earlier? The turrets are active. I could be wrong though, but I think the difference between these stations with the RAB stations are these are abandoned stations. You see the description says, attention, this PA supervisor control station is no longer in service. But after this, it doesn't say caution is advised. However, for these RAB stations, look at this one, RAB Whiskey. Even though it says no longer in active operation, but it says caution is advised. That's where we were attacked by the turrets. Okay, continue. Here we have Pyro L3 and RAB Kilo and cluster NBD 102. And then Pyro 3 L5, you have another abandoned station, Supervisor 3-5, and then Rap Ignition. So this is a hostile place. And then you have Rap Bravo right here in the middle of nowhere. So that's the third orbit for Pyro 3 Blue. Now we're moving to the fourth orbit. Let's find the planet. The fourth orbit, we have, surprisingly, we have a Pyro 5. It's not Pyro 4. The reason being is Pyro 4 is right here in the outer orbit of Pyro 5. Pyro 4 is rotating around Pyro 5. It's like a moon of Pyro 5, but in itself is a planet, which is called Pyro 4. So both Pyro 5 and Pyro 4 are in the fourth circle, the fourth orbital line. So that is why we only have 5 orbital lines in Pyro. We have arrived at Pyro 5. And Pyro 5 is a gas giant. There is no POI. It's like Orison without the floating platforms. It's just one big giant gas planet. And Pyro 5 is the biggest planet among all the Pyro planets. And around Pyro 5, we have 5 moons. You can even see those moons floating in space. And there is another one. And then I think, yes, that's another one. Look at that. The first moon, the closest one, is Ignis. Second is Vetra. Third is Adrir. Fourth is Fyrio. Fifth is Fugo. Sixth is Vor. And then is Pyro 4. Now, within the Pyro 5 and Pyro 4 system, we also have these Rap stations. Rap Delta, Rap Lamada, Rap Over, and then some minor clusters. And beyond Pyro 5 orbit, you have a lot more stations and clusters. And then you have the Pyro 5 L4, L3 that you can jump to, another Rap station, cluster, Pyro 5 L5, and now the last orbital line, which is the 5th orbital line, is called Terminus. This is the Pyro 6 planet. So jumping from Pyro 5 to Pyro 6, it takes 10 minutes and 18 seconds with a size 2 quantum drive. Total distance is 101.39 gigameters. Alright, arriving Terminus. This is Pyro 6. Pyro 6 has an asteroid belt. However, Pyro 6 is controlled by the game, which we're all familiar with, the Xeno threat. Pyro 6 has another space station, which is called Ruin Station, controlled by Xeno threat, and this is the third and last location that you can choose in the current EPTU 4.0 patch as a home location. Now, let's take a look at the orbital lines. Pyro 6, you have Pyro 6 L1, L2. Around them, you have this minor clusters and abandoned stations. Another cluster, Pyro L4. Another cluster, Pyro L5. And Pyro L3. One significant point is between the 5th and the 4th orbital line, we have a Stanton gateway. So far, this is the only gateway you can jump between Stanton and Pyro. And it's quite far from the Stanton star. Let's see how far from Termin. Oh, you see, I don't even have enough fuel to go to the Stanton gateway from this ship. So here comes the most 2 important factors, which I think you need to consider if you want to explore Pyro. Number 1 is fuel. You must not only calculate how much fuel you're gonna use between your next jump, you must also calculate the jump after the next. After you arrive your next target, will you have enough fuel to jump to the next location? If not, is there any gas station that's close to your next location? Also, when the reputation system comes in, you must also consider, are you friendly with that reputation so you can go to that fuel station to refuel your ship? So that is one of the most important factors you need to consider, the fuel, quantum fuel and hydrogen fuel. And second most important factor is obviously the security factor. Pyro is a completely lawless system. Once you're in Pyro, you can be attacked by NPCs and players and with no consequences to them. So those are the 2 most important factors that you need to consider. Now, this is a ruin station. Ooh, why do I have a major torque imbalance? Oh, I'm spinning out of control. Oh no! I'm gonna crash! The end. Alright, so the last part of this video, let's talk about which home location in Pyro should you choose. I think we need to consider two factors. One is location, location, location. Well, that's three factors already. So in terms of location, right now where I am is Checkmate Station right here. And considering the location, it's in the inner orbit of Pyro system. And also, you need to consider the location between Stanton Gateway and your home location at Pyro. So Checkmate Station is the closest station to the Stanton Gateway, from here to here. And second station is Orbital, which is orbiting around Bloom. And the distance from Bloom to the Stanton Gateway is a little bit further. And then the third station is Terminus, Ruin Station. From here to the Stanton Gateway is a little bit further away. So Checkmate Station is the closest. Now, second consideration is because each station is controlled by different gangs. So which reputation, which gang you are going to be friend with. Both Checkmate Station and Orbital are controlled by Rough and Ready gang. And the Ruin Station in the Terminus system is controlled by Xenothreat. Now, the third consideration is which station has X large hangars. As far as I know, only the Checkmate Station has X large hangars, which means you can spawn your X large ship. And that concludes the part 1 of Pyro 101. See you in the next one.